Coming up on Hoosier Sports Night, football continues their dominance and improves to 7-0. We have the details on their 49-point victory.
And men's soccer continues their hot streak. We'll show you what's working for them as they get to the back end of their season. This is Hoosier Sports Night.
Hello and welcome to Hoosier Sports Night. I'm Preston Andrews.
And I'm Ethan Bonheur. And hey, IU is 8-0 for the first time since 1967. And are you hyped for college game day coming down next week?
Absolutely, Ethan. The way I look at it is that you have the college football universe and the Hoosiers are the sun in Bloomington. Curt Cignetti and company hosted Fox's big noon kickoff for an IU-Nebraska showdown. With all eyes on the Hoosiers, Indiana dominated the Cornhuskers 56-7 but improved to a perfect 7-0. Our Luke Brenneman has the recap.
It is homecoming weekend at Indiana University, and the football Hoosiers were home cooking at Memorial Stadium on Saturday. The IU faithful was on full display this afternoon as a sellout crowd packed the rock and willed Indiana to a dominant 56-7 win over Nebraska.
Keep winning, people are going to come. And, I felt confident it could happen here like that too, because I had done it at one other place that was very similar to this going in.
It was Indiana who struck first with 4 touchdowns and over 340 total yards of offense in just the first half. As a team, the Hoosiers ran for 215 yards and 5 touchdowns on a Cornhusker defense that hasn't sacrificed more than 200 yards on the ground all season.
Next man up, pick up the rifle and you got to keep going. I believe everybody on this team has deserved the right to be able to go out there and play at a high level. And you see it from no drop off. The running backs, receivers, tight ends, standard is a standard. It doesn't matter who's in the game. We truly believe in keeping that standard no matter what jersey number you have.
It is hard to pick a better side of the ball in regard to the Hoosier play this afternoon. The defense turned over Nebraska 5 times while allowing just 7 points. Indiana picked off Nebraska's freshman phenomenon quarterback Dylan Raiola 3 times, which matched his season total coming into today's game. Indiana continues to improve every week and will find themselves approaching the top 10 in national rankings after this performance.
It kind of shows that we can play with anybody in the country. We don't really care who it is. We're going to go down the schedule and just play anybody. So we're going to play them to the best of our ability. We're going to do our job.
A win over Nebraska on homecoming weekend is one thing, but a 56-7 rout on national TV is another reason for heads to continue to turn about this IU football team. They say if you build it, they will come. And through 8 weeks of the college football season, Curt Cignetti has built one of the best teams in the country. Indiana will host Washington next week, and yet again, another Big Ten matchup. For IUSTV Sports, I'm Luke Brenneman.
Indiana has climbed the rankings once again, and the Hoosiers are currently the 13th best team in the country. IU will host ESPN's College Game Day this Saturday for their noon kickoff versus Washington at Memorial Stadium.
Indiana volleyball headed out to West Lafayette this past Saturday to face a top 10 foe and bitter rival in Purdue. Indiana played at Mackey Arena in front of 15,000 loud fans, which was the largest turnout for a volleyball game in the state of Indiana's history. However, the Hoosiers were dominated by the Boilermakers all night. Indiana struggled against Purdue's relentless offensive attack and were forced into several key errors against the Boilermakers' defensive front. It ultimately led to the Hoosiers falling in straight sets to the number 10 Boilermakers. Indiana will attempt to get back on track as they head back home to Wilkinson Hall to host number 8 Wisconsin on Thursday and Northwestern on Sunday.
Indiana men's soccer continued their October success with a 3-1 victory over Michigan State last Friday. Our Josh Pose has the recap.
They say playing against Todd Yeagley's Hoosiers in October is like playing Matt from Wii Sports. Impossible. The same was said Friday night as Indiana took down Michigan State 3-1 at Bill Armstrong Stadium.
I like October. It's been good to us. I do. I want to keep November and December, though, good too.
After opening his account with the Hoosiers with 2 against Michigan on Tuesday, Justin Weiss opened the scoring in the 22nd minute with a goal on a throw-in.
But it felt good. I knew it was coming. I felt last game when I got the 2, it was a big weight off my shoulders in terms of I could play more free. I kind of got my mojo back.
After a handball in the box, the Hoosiers doubled their lead thanks to Patrick McDonald converting from the penalty spot, but the Spartans answered right back with a penalty kick goal of their own, making a 2-1 Hoosier lead at the half. Indiana was given some cushion in the 51st minute thanks to yet another veteran finding the back of the net, with Sam Sarver netting his 3rd goal of the season.
I don't know, when you play soccer for so long, it's kind of one of those like frustration hits. You're like, I'm just going to hit this and see what happens because, you know, I felt like I had to make something happen, especially after Coach gave me another chance in the half.
That proved to be enough as the Hoosiers remain unbeaten in the month of October with a 4-0-1 record. With the victory over the Spartans, Todd Yeagley has earned his 200th win as head coach of the Hoosiers. He'll now take his team out to Hollywood to take on the UCLA Bruins next Friday. From Bill Armstrong Stadium, I'm Josh Bose, IUSTV Sports.
Todd Yeagley takes his team out west for a date with UCLA on Friday night, looking to remain perfect in the month of October.
Last Thursday, women's soccer took on the University of Illinois at Bill Armstrong Stadium in their final home match of the season. Illinois took an early lead, finding an open net to score in the 13th minute. In the second half, freshman forward Layla Serta got close to a goal in the 56th minute, but it was signaled as offsides. Illinois had a dominating second half, however, Indiana put up a fight, keeping the final score at 1-0. Indiana then hit the road to face the University of Minnesota on Sunday in Minneapolis. Indiana struggled offensively in the first half, but was able to put up a strong defense led by senior goalkeeper Jamie Gerstenberg. Minnesota picked it up in the second half, scoring 2 goals on Indiana in the 56th and 84th minute, ultimately winning the game 3-0. Indiana's conference record now stands at 1-8-1 as they head into their last regular season game in Lincoln, Nebraska to take on the Cornhuskers on Sunday.
Coming up after the break, we crown this week's Hoosier Highlight Athlete of the Week.
And men's and women's basketball hosted Hoosier Hysteria. We have all the highlights, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Hoosier Sports Night.
Joining us in studio for this week's Hoosier Highlight is IUSTV sports reporter Olivia Pierce. Olivia?
Thanks, guys. Nebraska came to town in hopes of spoiling Indiana football's undefeated record, but our Hoosier Highlight athlete of this week, Justice Juice Ellison, pulled some fresh squeeze moves on the Cornhuskers. Ellison led the Hoosiers in rushing with 108 yards, almost doubling the next Hoosier behind him, Tyson Lawden. Ellison also delivered not 1, but 2 touchdowns for the Hoosiers, taking his total to 8. Not to mention, Ellison just received a collegiate career milestone of 500 carries, and we will certainly be seeing more of Ellison when the Hoosiers take on Washington, right here in Bloomington on Saturday. Back to you guys at the desk.
Basketball season kicked off on Friday in exciting fashion with Hoosier Hysteria. The event gave Indiana fans a first look at the men's and women's basketball squads. The two teams feature a combined 13 new faces between freshmen and transfers. Both Mike Woodson and Terry Moran addressed the crowd, expressing optimism for their upcoming seasons. Fans were also treated to skills contests, a 3-point shootout, and a men's basketball scrimmage. The men's basketball team will play a charity exhibition match against Tennessee on Sunday. The lone exhibition for the women will be next Wednesday against Maryville at Assembly Hall.
The Indiana field hockey team had a busy weekend at home, taking on 18th-ranked California and Stanford. Our Ben Polanski has more.
This past Saturday, Indiana cross country traveled to Madison, Wisconsin for pre-nationals at the Thomas Zimmer Championship cross country course. The men's team came out in 21st place in the 8K A race. Siler Stidham led the team with a 37th place finish in a time of 23 minutes and 23 seconds. The women's team clinched 7th place in the 6K B race. Senior Mariah Worley was the first Hoosier to cross the finish line with a time of 20 minutes and 54 seconds and a 16th place finish. Lily Myers and Caitlin Witten followed behind, both placing in the top 50. The Hoosiers will travel to Savoy, Illinois on November 1st for the Big Ten Championship, hosted by the University of Illinois at the Orange and Blue Golf Course.
Joining us in studio for this week's Candy Stripe calendar is IUSTV sports reporter Graham Cavins. Graham?
Thanks, guys. It's a busy weekend for Hoosier Athletics with many pivotal conference matchups. On Friday, the men's soccer team looks to stay hot and push their win streak to 5 games when they take the trip to Los Angeles to face UCLA at 10:30. Field hockey will hope to get above 500 when they travel to Columbus to take on Ohio State at 3. On Saturday, football gets the spotlight as College Game Day comes to Bloomington for the first time since 2017. Indiana looks to keep their undefeated record and college football playoff hopes alive when they go head-to-head against Washington at noon. Sunday, we'll see women's soccer take the field as they look to end their 3-game losing streak in Lincoln against Nebraska at 2. The men's basketball team takes the court for the first time at 3 in Knoxville when they play Tennessee in an exhibition game with proceeds supporting the John McLendon Foundation. Volleyball wraps up this super busy weekend with Northwestern visiting Wilkinson Hall at 7. That's all for the Candy Stripe calendar. Back to you guys at the desk.
And that's our show for the week. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at IUSTV Sports to keep up with all the latest in IU athletics. For our production crew behind us, I'm Ethan Bonheur.
And I'm Preston Andrews. We'll see you next week.